Hello my Rover friends and welcome to the Lucky 8 channel. Today I'm going to be joined by Joe from Lost Cause Ranch and Troy from Addicted Motors. We are going to put our heads together and figure out what is the best Discovery model made. I'm talking about Discovery 1 versus Discovery 5, 2, 3, 4, you got it all. Which one is the best? And because I have so much confidence, I've made a list. Put it right here in this envelope. We're going to see if those other guys are even close. And to top it off, we're going to take a deep dive into what specialty models were the best. You're going to be surprised. The answer is right here. There's no arguing. We're just going to see if those guys get close. Cue the intro. This is going to be interesting. I'm going to try and FaceTime these guys. They're going to try and record it. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I do know that I have the answers right here. So let's give them a call. Got to go into the old iPhone, press FaceTime. Boom, boom. Uh-oh. Here we go. Let's see how it works. They're not answering. They're smart. Hey, look at you. Yo, there's Joe.
Oh.
All right, guys, you're probably wondering why I've called the meeting of the mindless. Well, there's a mind in this group. You can pick who's got it. I want to rank every Land Rover Discovery made. So D1 versus D5, going down the line. And then at the end, so you can noodle on stuff, we're going to rank the coolest limited editions that were made for the States. So I see you got a G4 behind you, something similar to that. Not like a one-off, it was made for the governor or somebody. Just make sense? So we're gonna start off. I've already got all the answers here. We'll see how close you get. We're gonna start off. Who wants, you want a minute? We can put a little timer up. Ranking all of the Discoveries. And that's all I'm giving you. You can rank it any way you want. There is a right answer, of course.
You want me to go first?
Oh, you're just gonna off the top of your head, huh? All right.
All right. So do we want to go reverse or do you want me to start at the top?
I would start at the top.
Start at the top. Well, we have to start with the D1. That's my favorite. It's the tried and true, most mechanical of that. I happen to think I have one of the best editions laying around as well. And in the States, it came in a manual. So how do you beat that?
Not with a bat.
And then if we go on, you want me to keep going?
Oh yeah. Let's hear it.
I'll just take over. And if we go on to the next one, I'm going to go with what I prefer as my daily driver Discovery. And that is D4. LR4 in the US. 5-liter V8. Plenty of torque. Air suspension. It can tow a trailer. It can tow another LR4. Then after that, gets a little tougher.
Yeah, see, he was rushing right to it, Troy. He's like,
I was saying, that's off right there. D1, awesome, you're done.
Well, that's I'm saying we just ended there. But we'll go with the D2. That is what started my Land Rover journey. So I think it's an honorable mention. And we have another cool edition, or part of one, sitting here. Then we'll go LR3. Just because that's dead reliable with a ton of technology still. That's great. The terrain control, air suspension, again. Timing chains don't seem to fail weekly. And
I've had
then,
one. I didn't know 4.4 could have time chain slap, but it did.
We did. We've done one in the shop too, but it's
Not financially viable.
Yeah. And then I guess we go T5 only because I have not experienced that yet. So we just kick it to the bottom.
Okay. Troy, is he right?
Yeah, I mean, he's right. I've got that exact same list. And I guess it's tough to rank things because, again, I was watching the Harry's Garage video where they did the ranking versus empirical data, and that's fine. But it didn't include anything older, and it was mostly the newer models based off of the claim data and whatnot. And this is kind of based off feel, obviously.
And experience. We've all experienced most of these vehicles, whether we wanted to or not.
I mostly experienced them after 100,000 miles, so that opens a whole nother, basket of goodies for ranking. But yeah, the D1 definitely comes first. I always like a D1. Who doesn't like a D1? They're eternal, whether they're $1,000 or $10,000. There's just so many different variants. They always run, not well. They always shift, and most of the time they steer. So you don't have a lot of variation there. Joe hit the nail on the head with the LR4 because I think that is the best, most usable, multi-purpose Rover that has ever been made. Is it the most reliable? There's arguments to say that it has its own potential issues, but if I could own one Rover that did it all, family, towing, hauling, comfort, it would definitely be a sorted LR4. And then back to the D2s. I had no love for D2s for the longest time. After owning classics and D1s, I think a problematic D2 can sink you. I mean, in one bit of an ABS module or a wheel speed sensor, it goes from a D2 to a D1 real quick if you're off-road. You're basically stuck in one-wheel drive. You don't have a CDL. But, the more I've mess with the cooling systems, kind of understand how that goes together. It's not all as visually able to be done as a D1, but the more you play with them, the more rewarding they are if the frame's not rusted out. And then, an LR3, of course, LR3s are great, probably more reliable LR4, less power, same bits. I like the ergonomics on the inside. It still feels very chunky and meaty, and all the buttons are kind of easily and well placed. It's a great cockpit from an ergonomic standpoint. And just like Joe, D5, I just haven't had a lot of experience with them. I've driven a few of them. They just kind of feel like a bulkier, heavier LR3. It drives like an LR3 for the most part, but you're just sitting a bit farther down and surrounded by, more metal, and there's more space on the inside. So that's why that one sits at the end. But, I've seen people all over the place wheel them and do some awesome stuff with them. So they're almost at my price point. So
well, that's what I was just going to say. I think you're in the same boat as me, and they just aren't quite old enough yet. But they're coming.
They are cheap enough that they're worth the risk. I've just, the horror stories with the leaking windshields and the modules going out and the resyncing the keys. It's just like, oh man, I don't know if I've got it in me to try to figure out the tech side of that thing. So that's my list.
For all my D5 friends out there, that is the best bargain right now in the Land Rover purchase world. You can get them right around 20 grand for a well-sorted D5, and it is amazing. That said,
if you
sorry, Troy, I didn't want to step on you. Go ahead.
No, that's the 2025 bargain of the year. I think that no one's talking about yet.
We've got don't tell anybody. We've got a secret D5 project coming real soon. All right, on to the Discovery list. You want to hear the right answer, guys?
I guess.
Hit us.
He holds the keys.
I even glued it closed so you'd know I didn't cheat.
I thought that was a power bill or something. Yeah.
Wow, I really mangled this. Okay. Top Discoveries. We'll go from the top down, right? Discovery 3. The LR3 is the best Land Rover ever. Hands down, best Land Rover. It does everything a Land Rover should do. It is a beautiful car. You can still take it to restaurants that are fancy. You can take it to the farm and load it with hay. It is dead reliable. It's amazing off-road. It is the best Discovery ever made. Sorry, I'm right.
It's not bad. I had one. They're great until the sunroof started leaking, and I was just like, I'm tired.
I yelled at you in another.
It out every time it rained.
I yelled at you in another video. Sunroofs are decorations. Never open them.
Never.
Never. Yeah.
The Octa sunroof. Never been open.
Plug the switch.
My 90, never been open. We just don't open.
What's that jar of Vaseline you keep in your car? Well, it's for other purposes.
It's really not what you think.
Okay, so my biggest gripe with the LR3 is the inability to re-gear it simply, because when you do put an oversized tire on it, you notice it. And there's where like the 5-liter just powers through that. So that is my holy gripe on the LR3. Otherwise, the LR3 would be ahead of the LR4 if you could re-gear it, Justin.
Oh, there is not enough market. We've looked into it, but I got to buy 500 sets of ring and pinion, and I just don't see that market there.
What if a guy buys 500 LR3s?
Well, it's easy. That's the easy part. The acquisition of broken LR3s. As a person who just liquidated a lot of them, when they're bad, they're bad. And the fourth owners, guess what? They're not following the scheduled maintenance, and you find the owners.
And they're not worried about gears.
Nope.
The problem is that differential doesn't lend itself to gear changes too. It's not like, hey, Justin, send me some Ashcroft lockers, and boom, they show up in a bucket. This is like, all right, disassemble your car. Now find somebody that can do this weird clamshell wizardry and put the gears in.
Yeah.
So, all right.
It's a very specific gripe, though. Gear too.
He was grasping at straws because in his heart of hearts, he knows I was right.
Oh, I know.
Number 2, the Discovery one. It did it all. It is timeless. It is now a classic vehicle, and it's amazing for all the right reasons that you guys said. It's just an amazing car.
We all miss the camel trophy aspect of the visual effect that truck has had on generations. For the first time someone discovered that on YouTube or in VHS, wherever you saw it for the first time. Just the visual of those things floating down a river was like, oh, if I'm not doing this, I'm not off-roading.
Right. Clearly, I've never done anything in my life because I haven't had to swim out of my car.
Float, then what are you doing?
Right. I've ruined many a cars and ponds trying to relive that. Next.
All right.
Disco 4. Disco 4, for the same reasons the LR3 is. It's a beautiful car. You can get it out, go anywhere with it. I'm just a little nervous with the 5 liters, doing 5-liter stuff. And that's why, if that was a more reliable motor, I think it would have taken first place. The horsepower is amazing. I do like the facelift ones with the 6-cylinder. That's really the 8-cylinder minus some cylinders.
Yep.
But they tend to run a lot stronger and better, but they don't have that V8 grunt.
They also have the 8-speed transmission, which makes a huge difference. If you could have coupled the V8 with the 8-speed, that would have been...
Don't worry. I had a phone call with a gentleman who utilizes that company, Roadside Works, I think, in Colorado, and he was trying to source blown up, ZF8 3 liters for that conversion to put the, tuned 600 horsepower supercharged 5-liter. So there's some crazy guys out there that want to spend $30,000 to make it the most versatile, still blowy uppy Land Rover you can imagine. So listen, you can't tell people how to spend their money, but that would be the ultimate.
All right, moving down, the Discovery 2. It's kind of become an iconic car in the Land Rover community. It's a lot of, they're cheap enough that it's my first car. It also upsets a lot of people for the D2 issues with the overheating and the head gaskets and all that fun. But it's still a very, very cool car. And then lastly, and it doesn't deserve it, but it's the looks, I think. It pushes a lot of people off. I never really minded the way it looked, but the community has spoken, and I have to agree with them that like the D5 is the red-headed stepchild of the family. It's still the greatest value, which is why it's the greatest value, and I think they are going to start to appreciate.
Well, what's the smallest wheel you can put on that?
Sorry?
What's the smallest wheel that you can put on the
18s.
18? They'll fit over the brakes and everything?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that puts it back in play.
Once you start using it and you don't feel bad scratching them because they're getting cheaper, they're a fun car.
Now, have you been around the diesel ones much?
Ooh.
There's nothing wrong with the diesel motors. There is everything wrong with the DEF system in the US diesel motors that cause havoc. So you got a diesel motor with 100,000 miles. You're like, this car's dirt cheap. I'm going to get great gas mileage. You need $12,000 to get the check engine light to go off.
Yeah.
It's also any modern diesel fitted with that system. I've been scoping them at auction because there's a lot of people that are interested in that truck. But even looking at the pictures, they all show that warning of 150 miles till shutdown, and when those things shut down, it shuts down, and then you still have to potentially deal with the CP4 pumps, and it's a whole Rolodex of interesting, fun stuff that could turn your truck into a brick. But I still want one. I mean, who doesn't want to get 30 miles per gallon, with a... Yeah.
You take the lead on that.
Yeah, I know. I almost did. I'll let other people jump into that pond.
Who doesn't want to just burn money?
Yes.
All right. Well, you guys did okay. But in your heart of hearts, my list was right.
Well, I would go with the majority personally, but...
With me being right? Yeah. The majority of you agree I'm right.
I can look out and see my mistakes in my backyard here, so it's a little bit different. But I do agree. I mean, I've really come around to doing a D2. I always avoided them for the longest time, and now that you hit the bottom and you try to see what's down there, and I ended up on D2s, and I think that's the best enthusiast daily for the Land Rover purpose. It's more livable than a D1 to drive around every day, especially with the automatic and heated seats, and it's just a little bit more drivable.
Thank you. You meant to say the most daily drivable, livable Discovery is the Disco 3, the LR3. I don't... At what point do you, you're D2, you're like, oh, it's going to get hot. Oh, my temps are high. Oh, is that a liner slipping? The LR3 is...
You're talking about the topic of my next video, basically.
And it just works.
Well, there's no, is that a liner slipping? You can clearly hear it.
You can run with a bad liner for 10,000 miles. It's like IMS, it's like bore scoring on a Porsche. You just kind of deal with it.
It just doesn't.
Just a little smoke. Right. Yeah.
It's not going to leave you stranded for the most part, as long as the coolant stays in it. But on the LR3, I did once put 2,000 pounds worth of wood pellets in the back of it, too. There's not anything else you can do that in that size range. The LR3, the LR4, that is what is incredible about it. The squared off interior is just so useful. You have more cargo space than a Suburban and a Tahoe.
Seats lie flat, for real flat.
Yeah,
it's a wagon. I mean, I've got some titles where it's classified as a wagon, and it checks that box.
All right, this one's going to get...
So we're in agreement that Discoveries are the best. Just in general.
That's a whole different episode. I don't have enough data storage on my 19 gig card for that one. All right.
I guess we're not doing one on the Range Rover Sport. We just cross that off the list.
Love the Sport. We'll do a Range Rover one next if you guys want. All right. The limited release. Which ones? You got to pick one from every generation. So D1, D2. Pick which ones are what, and then rank them top to bottom. US, you got to be able to buy it here in the States. So you can't go, well, I want that special Spectre edition because we couldn't get it, right? He's writing, he's smart. Joe's like...
Joe already has all the answers, so I'm going to write my little list down.
No, I don't read that.
He's trying to figure out what a special edition is.
It's me, special.
You own them all, I think. So
yeah, right. Easy. He's like, which one of my special cars do I want to drive today? Oh, the Disco 3 because it starts.
Well, I was just gonna say that's convenient because not a whole lot of them drive.
Those G4 doors look great back there, doesn't it?
So D1, gonna have to go with the XD Eco.
So that's the top of the list.
Yes.
That's the number one special edition Discovery.
Which, in fairness, doesn't really get you anything besides appearance for the most part, right?
Yeah.
It's double.
I'm about looks.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly he's in the gym every day.
Yeah. He's just moving chops again. That's how he stays in shape. He just can't make his mind
What
up.
are you doing? Oh, I'm just moving metal.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You don't have that moment of like, I'm never doing that again, and then you do it again. So it's good content.
Yeah, the XD AA yellow had the SD rack on it. It was a super cool car. It had the special seat covers that turned into dust 25 years later.
I
Turn purple?
have those in a bag of dust.
Yes.
But I like that it's a stripper model.
Yep.
Nothing fancy. We don't have sunroofs to leak. How can you beat that?
That is an option, a good option to have. It still leaks though.
I don't know to go from there. I almost like the Kalahari.
The Kalahari D2?
Yeah, I just think that's kind of a quirky thing.
Does that have a CDL though? I mean, I know most of them swapped at this point, but did original like 01, 02 Kalahari have a
It's in
CDL?
there.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
It's in there. You
But
just
it's
have to
not
put the
factory.
linkage.
Right. Okay.
So, or you just got to crawl underneath.
With the wrench?
As we,
10 mil? Oh, that's hot exhaust.
but as we determined, I'm all about looks.
Yes.
I like
Right.
the different interior. It's got a black headliner. It's got
Oh, that's right.
yeah, the seat inserts. The Saudi grill is very cool, and then the cutout on the front bumper is such like a neat little thing. So the side wigs are kind of cut back in for extra clearance when you have no center locking differential.
Get that tire really going.
Start flinging stuff. I don't know where to go from there. I would say something that you can buy that I always thought was cool after that would be the D5 Trek. I just think that's kind of a cool use for that vehicle, and to make it something a little closer to the Land Rover heritage. It's still kind of suburban-ish, but there's only so much you can do to that vehicle without really chopping into stuff, but it makes it a little tougher. And then from there, what else did we even have in the LR3, LR4 for special?
I got one.
We're gonna give it over to Troy because Joe stumbled.
Yep.
So I was going to start with the G4 LR3. I think, again, if you're not getting a whole lot of additional capabilities, it's just a cool factor, especially I think that guy in New Mexico had one of the versions of it. But yeah, a G4 LR3 I think looks awesome, especially because they did some real things with it. Just those visuals of them all lining through the desert. You know, they've got the 05 or 06 L322s all decked out and everything too. You know, the LR3 and industrial spec, you know, that type of, you know, built out, ready to go, but still clean, looks awesome. I agree with the XD. I'd probably put that as number 2. I'm not a super fan of the yellow paint, but it's a cool model. I do like it. And then the D2s, I've got the Kalahari on there, but I don't remember the name of the edition, but there was like an urban edition or something. It was black. It had 18-inch wheels and it had DVD players. It wasn't lowered or anything like that. I remember seeing it in one of my old Rover magazine. It had, you know, different audio package or something like that. But it was
dub edition.
Yeah, I mean, it was close. It wasn't that bad. It was some original Land Rover marketing associated with it. I'd have to pull it up, but it was like a dark silver or something like that. And it looked pretty cool, especially again if we're talking about non-CDL D2s for just bopping around. And I think that's the list. Like I said, I can't think of any other interesting addition. I'm sure there was some other D1s, but I can't think of it on the top of my head. There was like a Woodlands edition D2 with like the brown saddle leather. It looked like a...
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like an F-250 King Ranch interior, which I see those pop up for sale often and go, I don't know if I need that in my life, but I'd buy the seats. And any other D2 that has a cloth interior, because I keep seeing these ones pop up with slick tops. They're like 99s with slick tops and cloth leather seats, or cloth pattern seats that look like an original D1 seats. I think those are pretty cool too.
The answer.
He's got the research. Survey says. Put your readers on there.
Yeah, I am getting old. Thanks for pointing it out. All right, we're going to start at the bottom. Best I could come up with for Disco 4 was the Landmark edition.
Yeah.
It was cool. The interior was amazing. I think they just only came in limited colors. It was a really cool car. You open the car, you felt special inside, but not much going on the exterior.
That's like a 15, 16, 3-liter, right? That was like a last.
Yes,
Yeah,
yep.
last year. Yep.
Number 4, the G4 Discovery 3, the LR3. Very rare, super cool. All the reasons Troy pointed out. It was an awesome vehicle. Draws attention, and you're not going to see another one anywhere, right? I think New Mexico was maybe the only one I've ever seen. Number 3, the G4 D2. It had everything. It had the roof rack, it had the lights, the little brush bar, CDL, the Great Pumpkin we called it, right?
Yeah.
Man.
I've never seen one. Yeah.
You've never seen a G4 D2 in the flesh?
Well, I've seen them at auction. People with manual swap and things like that, but that does nothing for me. That engine doesn't need a manual transmission.
All right. Number 1, the Trek D5, followed by the XD. I'll let you guys absorb that and then realize I'm right.
You can edit a picture of that so we can get a visual.
Well, no, this is just for, we're not putting any of those pictures. The XD, such a cool car. Again, there wasn't too much special with that. It had the paint, had the rack. If you got the lights and everything, it was an iconic vehicle. What made the D5 super special, and yes, I'm extremely biased because I put every one of them together, is it came with rock sliders. So the car was armored for real use. It came with a winch, came with lights, it was ready for action, roof rack, and every one of them was used in the Trek competition. So if you do get your hands on one of those very rare cars, it was actually a competition vehicle. And I think that's what separates it from the rest of them. They were really used, they're fully armored, and that's why it's the best of the limited discoveries here in the States.
And I'll agree with you on that. The stuff that you guys have done to all the Trek Edition stuff is real stuff, real things that you would want to go out and do with the modifications if you were going to go take it off-road. Whereas a lot of the other special editions are still, kind of a mainstream vehicle, and Land Rover can only take it so far on their own with that. But no, you guys have done a great job with the program on the Trek stuff. And there is one D5 Trek that I saw pop up for sale recently, and that would be a neat thing to have. And in the grand scheme of things, for special editions, it's still a value.
Yeah, right? I think they're in the high 20s. You can still grab them.
This one was like 32 or something.
You couldn't build it for that, and that's the theme of anything money modified vehicle, right? If you're buying it for 25 or 30 with all that stuff on it, you guys all know the cost of parts and labor to outfit and modify and install those bits on it. So it's that's where your value comes in too.
Like $4,000 worth of Baja Designs lights on it.
Yeah.
So Troy doesn't like my list. I can read it in his face.
No, I couldn't recall every version. For some reason, I thought you were saying LR4. I don't remember G4 LR4, but you said D5, so that makes sense. But again, the amount of, I think, attention you guys brought to that D5 with that, of people seeing what it could look like, was awesome. And I mean, that could be a whole different kind of conversation topic about leveraging heritage not manufactured by Land Rover to improve kind of the brand identity, because they're not really doing they're doing things.
Those were sold at the dealership. Those were Land Rover cars, North America spec. Those went into the dealer and got sold.
Oh yeah, but
there was a little handshake, right?
Getting that ready for them and like getting it going is awesome, because you're creating the future heritage. Even though we think they're the most modern car and it is the most, but in the future, I think people will look back on those type of things with with the right colors and say that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You got to create your own heritage sometimes.
Well, guys, thank you for joining me. Any last words? Nah, I tired them all out. Their minds are blown. Be sure to follow Joe at the Lost Cause Ranch. Link below. Be sure to follow Troy at Addicted Motors. Link below. These guys are actually really entertaining, unlike me. And as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to follow for more Rover content.
Thanks, guys.
Adios.